Well, guys, we have something from Mythic Games today. We got Toyzzo, the board game table scam. We got a few things to talk about in today's video. And when it comes to coverage of the industry, this is stuff that's really important, so I hope you pay attention. Knowing more as a consumer, being a more well-informed consumer, makes you a better consumer. Now, I use the consumer term lightly here because consumers have a lot of privileges and rights that quote-unquote backers do not, at least until the laws catch up or the companies start being so scammy or Kickstarter starts actually caring about how they get their money, even if it's from scams. You see, when a game doesn't deliver, or a board game table, for instance, like Toyzzo I'm about to cover here, doesn't deliver, we get nothing except lost money. But Kickstarter already got their cut. They got their pay, so they don't care quite as much to do due diligence even when contacted. So here's Toyzzo, the game table right here. And this was something that, like, I covered quite a bit. I mean, you can see right here, there's me doing, you know, my whole coverage. And, you know, the Toyzzo game table, too cheap to be true? The answer is yes. But as you can see, it also doesn't matter too much, right? There's still 1,280, and you know what? When it comes to it, they had 1,393, so actually gained backers from that. Most people, they back something and then they leave. They don't read updates, they don't read comments, they don't watch YouTube videos, right? So they were able to get away with 426,000 USD and do nothing for it. Now, this was obviously a scam. This is pretty obvious. They used like a free image for their logo, their company logo. They kept having stuff here like the charging case and speakers and stuff that they ended up taking out because it wasn't realistic, right? All their videos are their own. Always be cagey about anything that doesn't send out it to a third party, right? So they had all this. It was just obviously fake. They had some generic stuff that's not even the same table, right? They don't have the same legs or anything like that. It's just random pictures that they had. So all of this is a joke. And it was going to be delivered February of 2024, which again was a joke. For $229, which again was a joke. Yeah, their latest update, they only had 4, mind you, was from March 11th. I'm surprised they even bothered with this, where they say, hey, we've been doing a lot of stuff. No pictures, of course. They were always careful not to post any pictures of anything like this. You'll remember Peterson Games was famous for this too, where they would say they did stuff and have no images of it at all, right? We're currently at this stage, yeah, sure. Estimated shipping date, mid to early April, early May, and mid-May to June. Now, they were still saying that they were trying to figure out how to ship it, right? And so that for each country. Yet, apparently, you know, they were going to, within a couple weeks, right? This is March 11th. They said early April, we're going to be shipping it out. And, of course, nobody has gotten their table at all. So, I would contact them, but this is their website right now. Their website was always a joke anyway. It was a .co to be cheap, and all it did was point to the Kickstarter, and it was brand new. I went through all of that here. I can cover the board game industry as well as I can manage in my off time. You guys can help spread the word. I know you guys do when you share my videos. Try and get the word out on some things that just seem a bit more cagey than others, a bit more odd, a bit more at risk. But at the end of the day, it's really on Kickstarter here. And what I mean by that is there's going to be cheaters, there's going to be scammers, there's going to be people that aren't doing their due diligence, right? Toyzzo, for instance, obviously was a scam from the get-go. It always was. It always will be. Nobody's going to get their table, right? We all knew this. And we contacted Kickstarter, and Kickstarter didn't care. Kickstarter didn't care because they still got their cut of the $426,000 they were able to raise. So as long as they got their money, they're happy, which is why you can say stuff like this, and then nothing happens. There is a small point here. And the point being that it's hard to tell, right? Now, I give my opinion and I say I feel this is a scam, right? This is obviously a scam to me. And I can say that on my channel all I want, but that doesn't necessarily prove it, right? What proves it is hindsight 2020 and actually looking back and saying, oh yeah, look, nobody got their thing. It was obviously a scam, right? But when you're calling it out ahead of time, the Kickstarter is in the position of you need to have people be able to make things and pitch things, right? This, by the way, this whole picture, right, with this isn't actually what it was. It had a whole bunch of legs where you couldn't even sit. See, same with this. And then look at that. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, nobody can sit there, right? But then here, it's not, I don't know. It's just, it's dumb. It's dumb, right? So obviously there was some silliness going on there. The point being that you can't necessarily say, oh, hey, yeah, you guys are trying to scam people, right? Unless you're overcautious. And what I mean by that is you're going to block things that are legitimate, or we're going to be legitimate, or we're hopefully going to be legitimate. The thing I'd say towards that is they're still, even if they ended up being legitimate, right? It's at such a high risk that it's not worth it for backers. Kickstarter is killing its own industry, the crowdfunding board gaming space. And anybody on GameFound is suffering from this too, because people leave. People back this, they spend $200+ on this, and they come away with nothing. And then they never back another crowdfunded game again, or crowdfunded campaign again, because they're out of here. And sadly, this is the case here. So the only update here is this silly update where they're saying production in progress and shipping update, where it was all lies, obviously. They're not doing anything. It's sad, of course, that more can't pick up on this, and Kickstarter can't block this ahead of time. So I know Kickstarter doesn't care. Hopefully GameFound can care enough to really start being a bit more stringent on things, because it's super important, or your industry is going to die as more and more people get turned off from it. It's nasty. It's bad. It's hard out there too. Game Brewers, goodbye. So goodbye, that's a term here. So Game Brewer is going away. I think the last time I covered them, it may have been to mention that they had a subscription. Sadly, all the information there is gone. They're not doing subscriptions anymore, so I can't go over the benefits again. So if you were a subscriber to Game Brewer, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, both how much it cost and what your benefits were from it. A subscription is when you pay like monthly and get benefits to them. So they said here, unfortunately, the increasing competitiveness of the market has made it challenging for us to remain profitable. And so they're actually kind of dissolving their company, and they will no longer be making board games and publishing them and all that kind of stuff. Now, it says here, despite careful planning, we found ourselves with a stock of 9,000 board games. To ensure we can settle all our obligations, including author license fees, and conclude our adventure debt-free, we need your help in purchasing this stock. So before I move on to the next bit here, and then we're going to get into the Mythic Games stuff, but, and it's actually kind of related to this. It's unfortunate to see that, like, oh, the competitive market, but then they're sitting on 9,000 games. That's a big stock. I don't know. I feel like when you're super indie, right? And if you look at like their GameFound stuff here, right? You can see even their latest stuff here, 133, 138, 33, right? It's not a lot, right? So like they weren't doing so well. And I don't know if this is just minimum product where they had to order more or what, but I feel like those are related. The whole, we're not profitable, we have 9,000 extra games than what we need. I feel like, and I'm not trying to like cast a huge amount of judgment here. I just, from what I can see, they were definitely over preparing. In other words, it's better to not have stock than to have too much stock, right? And just order another one, or on your website have it to where people can sign up, and once you get 1,000, then you do the shipment then, or something like that. Like there's all sorts of, I think, ways around that besides having a stock of 9,000 board games you have to offload. That's not a little amount, even with all their campaigns. They had 15 of them, by the way. So, except for the new releases, all games are sold at 25% off with a fixed shipment cost no matter how many games you buy. As a token of gratitude, everyone who has ever bought a game through crowdfunding from us will receive an extra 2% discount for every game they have previously purchased from us. We have done 20 crowdfunding projects, sorry, 20, not 15, because of the Kickstarter to GameFound jump. So the maximum discount is 65%. And we are no longer accepting new subscribers, but we decided to give them the maximum 65% discount on all our existing all our existing subscribers as well. So they have all this stock. They're giving away all these discounts. They had subscribers trying to get money that way. Obviously, that didn't work. I'm not surprised on that. I've seen this happen a few times, and you should always kind of look at, why do you feel you want subscribers, right? And honestly, any company that's doing a subscription thing to me, I'm a little cagey about. I like the idea of having subscribers pay for a game, as in like, you're investing in the creation of product, and at the very end you get it, right? So Patreon, for instance, has it for videos, right? Or anything like that, where like, oh, you pay monthly and it helps me make the video, and then you get the video, and that's exclusive to you, right? And so there's an idea of these games take years to make, so if you're supporting a creator creating, that kind of makes sense to me. But these whole like, you know, crowdfunding thing where you just see like behind the scenes stuff like that, they're essentially opening a Patreon. They're just not calling it that. And a company opening a Patreon to me is a little odd. It makes me wonder why they're searching for more money, if that makes sense. Like, what is that giving them per se? And it looks like it didn't give them enough, but they tried. And that's what that was. It was an attempt to get more money. But these heavy discounts, this is something that people are picking up on. In fact, this is coming right here. I have to say I'm happy that others are able to get great games for a lower price, but I do feel that loyal backers are getting the short side of the stick. Nothing against the company, just a general trend I see in the community regarding supporters often receiving comparably higher costs, but getting games into production with limited to no benefit. Now, I will say limited to no benefit, you got your game first, right? And you made it possible. I don't know if you necessarily... you know, like having the game itself when it wouldn't exist otherwise is a benefit. But you are paving the way for others to get better benefit. And this is something I see time and time again, where you are putting yourself at risk as a backer. And yet afterwards, people get the game cheaper than you did, either whether it's cheaper shipping, whether it's steeper discounts, whatever it is, because now they're not having to crowdfund the creation of this game. Now they're just able to sell their existing stock, and that's a lot of a cheaper of a process. And so this is something that happens constantly. In fact, I remember talking to Monolith back in the day when they did Mythic Battles Pantheon 1.5, I believe. And one of the conversations we got into was pricing the campaign after the first one. And what they said is very true, is it's cheaper to make the game the second time. You don't have to pay all the R&D or the art or even the steel molds for the miniatures. It is way cheaper to do a reprint. Yet backers will get upset if you put that towards other backers. So you actually get to raise the price a little bit to make it to where it's more expensive so original backers feel better. But at the same time, now you're just making way more profit as a company. So reprints are actually great for stuff like this because you can sell it at a higher cost and yet it's cheaper for you to actually make. So it's kind of this interesting scenario here where backers want to feel valued. And I can understand that too, because it is a risk, right? Backers are risking their money, giving companies like Game Brewer their money to help support them and create their games, and then they get a worse deal, right? So the appreciation of backers is kind of a struggle there. And in fact, it's kind of interesting that the subscribers get more, right? In other words, right here, they're valuing a subscriber way more than a previous backer. Unless you backed all 20 of their previous games, then you're equal to one subscriber. And that's kind of weird. It's kind of odd. I don't know why that thought is on backers that, oh yeah, you get 2%. But if you gave me money every single month, now suddenly, even though it's less, you know, and like how long did you subscribe? But if you only subscribe for a month, you get 65% discount now. It further entrenches the feeling that backers continually feel that they are not valued, or at least not as well as they should be when they're out for years of their money so that a company can run its business. And I think this kind of furthers it. I'm not saying Game Brewer has their heads screwed on wrong, but I do feel like as an industry, a very large portion of companies aren't realizing the true benefit that backers bring to them and then properly respect that. And again, this is another one where the company wasn't able to keep going. This continues to happen and has for years now. It's not just COVID. It's not just costs. It's just companies failing to run a company well. And I'm wondering sometimes if this sentiment is the case, or a part of it, right? Part of the, you don't quite have it right? Whether it's getting a good market, whether it's marketing, whether it's respecting backers. I think all of that is kind of related in a sense. And we're kind of seeing that here. Finally, speaking of sales, here is a Father's Day, and that's why I'm wearing the shirt, by the way, Mythic Games sale for 6 Siege. So Mythic Games is still around. They are still selling board games, including their stock of 6 Siege. They're trying to offload that. And they're saying it's great for Father's Day and includes discounts, right? So they have all these reviews, and sure enough, the reviews and stuff like that is really good because it is actually a good game. Bad companies can make good games. I've said that about Come On for a long time, right? I mean, I can disagree with a company and still like the game that they made, and vice versa. I can like a company and not like a game that they made, right? You don't. It's not some fandom. It's I'm not in a fan club with these companies or these games, right? You got to make everything independent. And so it's kind of interesting to see this. Right here is 660 USD, a fair price purchase, an all-in pledge, everything for the game, but without the video game skins, and 75% say yes on this. And then there were some comments on that and people painting, and there's all this positive coverage of it. And what's interesting here is this is pretty close. This is the 6 Siege full all-in, and right now it's actually $370. So I'm actually going to link to this, because if you guys can save some money and get a good game, I don't care. You know, you make a judgment based off of how you feel when it comes to your money and what it buys you. I will say I'm still cagey about Mythic Games, right? I've heard comments of people not getting their stuff. Now, my understanding is this is already stock; it just sends right out. But I'm still a little cagey, right? Like, I don't know. I want to make sure that you guys get what you actually want. But even just the core game, 140. It's kind of interesting to see these sales happen at the end, right? Hey, we weren't able to do it. Here, we're going to sell all of this. And because the cost is already there to make it, now they are just gaining $370. Whether that's how much it cost them to make it originally doesn't almost matter. They're not necessarily trying to make a profit. They're just trying to have cash come in because they've already spent to make it, right? Now they have to pay off their debts. Now they have to do all this. So you get these Father's Day sales. You get these steep discounts. If you're a subscriber, you get 65% off on Game Brewer. So it just further shows the benefit of not being a backer. Of saying, screw this crowdfunding thing. If and when it sells or makes money, I'll buy it on the cheap for later. No, I'll get it cheaper, but I'll get it sooner because there's less of a gap between when I'm out money and when I get my product. I'm seeing this constantly, and it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. Don't think that this means this is profitable, right? Both of them are probably losing money on sales. They're just trying to get money in, cash in to their company to pay for stuff. But I don't know. It's just, it's unfortunate to see backers continually get the short end of the stick, whether it's campaigns that are never going to deliver and everybody knows it, but the companies don't care. Whether it's companies going out of business but then having thousands upon thousands upon thousands of extra stock. So obviously there was a misordering of product and now they're just trying to get rid of it. And so then they just sell it off. Or it's companies that have tons and tons of campaigns that don't end up delivering. And then they sell the IP and have to get rid of their stock. Either way, they're offloading all of these Kickstarter board games with all of the Kickstarter stuff a lot cheaper. Let me know your thoughts on this, on backing future campaigns. Now, I am still a fan. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy this hobby. I enjoy crowdfunding. I enjoy the games that can create. I'm going to have a video dedicated to that. Not necessarily just indie games, but games that wouldn't exist without crowdfunding, that literally wouldn't. And we can talk around that some as well. And, is that viable for a company to just skate by making these games? That's kind of where Game Brewer was, right? I don't know, you let me know your thoughts. I'm curious to hear what you have to say on this. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye, guys.